In topic 4, we will look at plants for human use, and in part 1, we will focus on nutrition from plants and their footprint. We'll look at why we grow plants, what is our need. We will see how the way we grow plants influences ecosystems, the energy footprint, and society. So this fourth topic is based on chapter 3 of the prescribed text, and this was written by Michael Nee, and it's in the book Plant Science, edited by Margaret McMahon. In the previous topic, we learned about ecosystems and the human influence on ecosystems. This module focuses on the uses of plants for humans and the footprint that they cause. The learning objectives for the whole of topic 4 are to allow students to be able to describe how plants are used to meet human nutritional needs, describe the many ways plants are used by humans in addition to nutrition, and discuss how growing plants impacts our energy use and carbon footprint. Plants are essentially the only terrestrial organisms that converts inorganic carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen to organic forms through the process of photosynthesis. In other words, plants incorporate the solar energy they capture into organic forms of carbon. It is these organic forms that provide the energy for all living organisms. This ability to convert inorganic to organic is why plants are called autotrophs, meaning self-feeder. They are producers, and autotrophs include plants, of course, and some other organisms. Whereas humans, and just about everything else that live on land, are called heterotrophs, or other feeders, because they feed off autotrophs and other heterotrophs. They are consumers, and they include animals and a few other organisms. A healthy human diet requires energy sources, which can be obtained from carbon molecules, such as carbohydrates, fatty acids, lipids, fats, oils. The diet also requires other components, mainly amino acids and proteins, but also vitamins, minerals, and of course, water. Except for minerals and water, all these compounds are provided by plants through a series of processes that are governed by the plant's genetic material. And they start with photosynthesis, which is run by high energy compounds within the plant cells. These organic materials are made up mainly of carbon molecules and hydrogen and oxygen, and a few other elements are included. So let's have a look briefly at the different organic carbon molecules that are manufactured by plants. Carbohydrates are chains of carbons linked together with hydrogen and oxygen atoms are also attached. The number of carbons and the number of hydrogen-oxygen atoms in the molecules determine the characteristics of carbohydrates. Fatty acids are carbon chains with hydrogen but no oxygen attached along the chain, except at one end where a carboxyl, which is one carbon and two oxygen and one hydrogen atom, or COOH, is attached. Fatty acids can be saturated or unsaturated. Saturated acids have single bonds between all carbons, and hydrogen is attached to all other binding sites. That's where they get the name saturated from. These tend to be solid and are the less healthy form of fatty acids. Unsaturated acids have a double or triple bond between some of the carbons, where hydrogen could attach if the bond was single. They tend to be liquid and are healthy fatty acids. Most unsaturated fats are derived from plant sources, for example, olives, avocados, and nuts. Most saturated fats come from animal sources like red meat, poultry, and dairy. And so lipids, fats, and oils are just made up of fatty acids and other elements. The exact makeup of each determines its characteristics. In general, fats are solid at room temperature and oils are liquid at room temperature. Amino acids are made from carboxyl and amines, both attached to carbon molecules, together with side chains of other elements. The side chains give the amino acid its characteristics. And proteins are just very long and complex chains of amino acids. When we look at cultivated plants, we see that only a small percentage of all the plant species in existence feed the world's people either directly or indirectly through animals. There are 6 major groups of food plants. These are cereal crops. These include wheat, maize, or corn as the Americans call it, rice, barley, oats, sorghum, rye, and millet. And over half the world's food supply comes from the photosynthetic activity of just these crops. Another group is roots and tubers, and these include potatoes, sweet potatoes, and cassava. Oil crops include soybeans, corn or maize, peanuts, palm, mainly palm oil, coconuts, sunflowers, olives, and safflower. Sugar crops, sucrose mainly comes from sugarcane and sugar beets, but we also get fructose from corn or maize. Fruit crops provide a broad range of nutritional compounds, and we eat a lot of bananas, oranges, apples, pears, and many others. Vegetable crops also provide a broad range of nutritional compounds, and most commonly we eat tomatoes, lettuce, carrots, melons, asparagus, and many others. Now, fruits and vegetables add to the variety and palatability of our daily meals, but they also supply much needed vitamins and minerals. So the table on the right shows some of the common crops ranked in relation to the calories and proteins produced per unit area of land. There are some horticultural crops featured, such as potato, sweet potato, peas, and beans. However, not all of the total production of food materials becomes available for human consumption. Much is lost during harvesting, transport, and marketing, primarily from attacks by insects, diseases, birds, and rodents. Also, some of the production is saved, and that is used as seed. Now, in terms of human nutritional requirements, adults normally need about 2,000 to 3,000 kilocalories of energy per day, and this is supplied by carbohydrates, lipids, and fats. Lipids and fats can provide more energy than equivalent weights of carbohydrates. Plant fats are healthier than animal fats. Plant fats have polyunsaturated fatty acids. Animal fatty acids are saturated, creating cholesterol problems. Linoleic acid is an unsaturated fatty acid that is required to make some hormones in humans. Human adults need approximately 70 grams of protein per day, and plants can easily provide that amount. Pulses such as beans and some cereal crops are high in protein, even potatoes. Quinoa, too, is very high in protein and in carbohydrates. But it is difficult to find the right type of protein in crops. More specifically, the right balance of amino acids necessary for humans. So, a small amount of meat, along with the pulses and cereals, can provide all the necessary amino acids in the human diet. Along with the energy source and proteins, humans require organic molecules, which we know as vitamins. Now, humans make their own vitamin D when the skin is exposed to sunlight. All other vitamins are plant products, with the exception of vitamin B12, which is provided by bacteria in ruminant animals and available to humans in milk and meats of ruminants. Fruits and vegetables provide the bulk of vitamins in the human diet. The last nutritional need for humans are inorganic nutrients. These include macronutrients such as calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, and potassium, and micronutrients, some of which include iron or iodine. Now, all of these can be obtained from plants, but in fact are actually available in higher amounts in meat. Now, what is the footprint from all this food that we produce? At 3,000 kilocalories per day, based on United States yields, which are similar to Australian yields, we get the required carbohydrates. So 0.15 hectares of wheat or 0.06 hectares of corn would be needed to provide the energy to a human for a year. But we need proteins too, and that can be substituted by beans for about a quarter of the grain in the diet. That means we would need 0.16 hectares of a beans and wheat diet, or 0.09 hectares of a beans and corn diet. Boring diet though. In addition, fruits and vegetables to get minerals and vitamins would be another 0.2 hectares. So the totals are illustrated in this basic diagram. However, on a global scale, things are rather different. Production is much less than the United States or Australia on a per hectare basis. It's also questionable whether the inputs that are used to attain the United States Australian yields are physically available or environmentally desirable on a worldwide scale. So worldwide, there is about 0.25 hectares of cropland available or in production per person. This is estimated to be enough for now, but if we have increased population, then we are going to experience problems. Not all is grain and beans. Approximately 3.5 million hectares goes to the production of spices and herbs. Plants producing ingredients for dyes, perfumes, oils, and other chemicals are grown on large areas of agricultural land. Also, it must be considered that inputs for production can be high and increase the footprint, such as fuel, chemicals for growing the crop, or fuel for transport, or to store and process the crop. These inputs do increase yields from an area, thereby reducing the footprint. However, environmental contamination from fertilizer and pesticides increases the footprint. Area is also required to absorb the waste generated by food production. In the past, this has been ignored, with the result that groundwater and surface water have become contaminated. Now, many crop production facilities, large and small, use fertilization and pest control practices that minimize chemicals leaching into the groundwater. Many growers provide some kind of buffer vegetation to prevent soil particles and fertilizer runoff from cropland entering into streams and open water sources. Plant wastes can often be recycled by composting or incorporation into the soil, or by feeding it to animals. Animal wastes are often spread on the land. Many municipalities have systems of processing human waste. It cannot be recycled in food crop production because it is often contaminated with heavy metals and chemicals. However, it can be used on non-food crops such as turf and ornamentals. So, major problems will occur, however, when wastes cannot be recycled for the production of crops. So, we've looked at plants that are used for human nutrition. What else are plants used for? And what is their footprint? So plants can be used for forage and feed grains, fiber, fuel and non-fuel oils, medicine, or for pleasure, ornamental, and recreational uses. What we will do in the next part is we will look at these and we'll also look at the footprints that they deliver.